Boker Tov. Good morning. Hope you're having a great start to your morning. We did great large minyan. Got to have Reuven Buff put on tefillin for the first time. Tomorrow he reads the Torah for the first time. And Shabbos we celebrate his bar mitzvah out on the backyard and the patio. So it's always good to have celebration, especially in times like these. So, I've been speaking about the spies for the last few days, the 12 spies. But what I didn't tell you is that there's also another sequel to the spies that we read about in the Haftorah. Every Shabbos we read a Haftorah, which is not from the 5 books of Moses, from the Torah, but from the Nevi'im or Ksuvim, from the prophets and the scriptures. The reason why we read one every week is because in the time of the Romans, when the Romans decreed that the Jews couldn't study the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, it was devastating to the Jewish people. How could you live without Torah? So the rabbis instituted that every week they choose a chapter or part of a chapter or 2 chapters of the prophets or the scriptures that correlated somehow to what the parsha would have been. And that way they would at least connect and study a little bit of the parsha, even though they couldn't study the Torah because it was forbidden by death. After the Romans' decree finished, the rabbi said, once it was constituted, we keep it. And every Shabbos we read Haftorah. Well, this week's Torah portion, surprise, surprise, the Haftorah is about Joshua. Finally, 40 years later, after the Jews were punished for not wanting to go into the land, and the whole generation perished and passed away in the desert, and Moses himself was ready to pass away, and then Joshua was going to lead the Jewish people into the Holy Land. Joshua sends spies again. He doesn't send 12. He sends 2 spies. But when the prophets describe the spies that Joshua says, it says he sent people that were cheresh. What does cheresh mean? Cheresh means deaf. What does it mean they were deaf? Why would he send deaf people? So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the famous Kabbalist, who we celebrated Lag BaOmer, and the author of the Zohar, says that he told them to fake like as if they were deaf. They should make believe they were deaf. And he figured if they make believe they're deaf, he'll mingle around the people. And if they're deaf, they won't be shy to have the conversations they want to have. And then they'll be able to eavesdrop and bring back the information to Joshua to be able to conquer the land. Their mission was successful. And of course, they told them how to go through Jericho, and the woman Rachav helped them as you read the whole story. But the question is like this. We all know the story. If you have a stranger come along next to you and suddenly he fakes it like he's deaf, you're not going to believe him. You're going to say this is nonsense. You're not going to spill your beans, your secrets in front of these 2 guys because they faked it as if they were deaf. So what was Joshua telling them? Fake as if you're deaf and suddenly all the secrets of the land are going to be yours? It doesn't make any sense. So there's beautiful commentaries by some of the rabbis and expounded by Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditchev that Joshua was sending them a powerful message. And if we see this message that Joshua sent them, we'll understand why Joshua's spies were successful as opposed to Moses' spies that failed. And it's really a message to us. Anytime we want to do a risky mission, anytime we want to accomplish something that we think can't be accomplished, we have to look at what Joshua said about being deaf and faking as if you're deaf, and that will help us succeed in the mission. You see, this is the story. Anytime you want to accomplish something great, anytime you want to do something that's revolutionary, anytime that you want to change the world, there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be the people say, is he crazy? You want to build a new day school? A day school? How are we going to support this day school? We have such a small community. You want to build a mikvah, a ritual, a mikvah in our community? No one cares about it. A new shul? No way. Or better yet, so many people in our community, they want to become more observant. They want to keep Shabbos. They want to keep kosher. They want to do an extra mitzvah, and they always have the naysayers say, you're going to keep Shabbos? But you never did it in your life. And you don't do this, and you don't do that. So what Joshua was intimating to these 2 spies were, he says, if you want your mission to be successful, if you go on a risky mission and you want to see it through and be able to accomplish the things you need to be accomplishing, you need to fake as if you're deaf. You have to tune out all the noise around you, all the naysayers, all the doubters, all the people that say, nah, it's not going to happen. Because if you keep on listening to people, you'll never get anything accomplished. You know, today, there's 4,500 Chabad centers in every corner of the world, from Montana to Siberia, to Wyoming, to Beijing, to Congo, to Africa, wherever you want, to Dubai. When the Lubavitcher Rebbe started after the war, and he started his outreach, you know how many naysayers he had? You know how many people say, how could you do that, or you'll never succeed? Imagine if he listened. But the Rebbe listened to what Joshua was telling the two spies, that in order to accomplish something great, you need to be tone deaf sometimes. You need to be cheresh. You need to tune out all the noise surrounding you. You know, when I came to Chestnut Hill 19 years ago, people looked at me like I fell off the moon. Here's a Hasidic rabbi. I was young. I was just married. It was grunny eye and mushki. And we thought about changing the world and revolutioning everything that goes on here. And people said, what's this bearded guy with a black long coat, with a yarmulke and a black hat? How's he going to fit into Chestnut Hill, this fancy suburban secular area? But thank God I was tone deaf. I didn't listen. Maybe because I was young. Maybe because I was naive. Maybe because I was innocent. But most importantly, because I listened to what Joshua said to the two spies. Anoshim cheresh. He says you got to be tone deaf. You know, a little while ago, there was this guy in the news, Eli Beer. Eli Beer was very sick with coronavirus in Miami for 2 months. He was on a ventilator and he almost passed. Miraculously, he survived. And in fact, in order to get him back to Israel, Sheldon and Miriam Adelson chartered a private jet to get him back to his family, who he was away from for 2 months because he got sick while he was on a mission in Florida with the coronavirus. And Eli Beer has a fascinating story. He was 6 years old. And him and his brother were in Jerusalem, and there was a suicide bombing. And he heard someone screaming for help, but he was 6 years old. He didn't know how to help. And he ran away, and it haunted him for all those years. And when he turned 15, after he started in the family business, he learned how to be an EMT because he wanted to help save people's lives after what he had seen. And he learned how to be an EMT. And he volunteered on an ambulance. And one time they got a call. A 7-year-old boy was choking. And it took them 25 minutes to weed through the traffic in Jerusalem. And they came and they tried to do CPR on the kid. And a few minutes later, a doctor came and pronounced the kid dead. And Eli Beer couldn't handle it. He says, how could this be? Imagine if this doctor was alerted earlier and he lived right down the street. He didn't have to go through the traffic. He would have ran. He would have saved this boy. This boy died in vain. So he gathered 15 other EMTs to volunteer. And together, they got onto this police radio wave. And they said, whenever you hear, you run on foot, and you'll be the time between when the ambulance could get there till the ambulance gets there, you'll be able to try to save this boy. And he started this organization called United Hatzalah. And today, they have 6,000 volunteers all over the country. Jews, Christians, Druze, Muslims, Arabs. They have these Ambu Cycles. In order to weave through the traffic also, they got these little Ambu Cycles that don't have to wait by red lights and can cut through all the cars. They've cut down the response time. That was 25 minutes 30 years ago. Now, it was over 30 years ago, now it's down to 90 seconds in the metropolitan areas, and across the country it's under 3 minutes. They have 6,000 volunteers who are EMTs who have saved over 200,000 lives in the last, I think total was over 1 million, but in the last couple of years, 207,000 calls, maybe it was 207,000 calls in 1 year, and they've helped over 1 million people. Imagine, this kid, Eli Beer, saw something at 6 years old, and he decided he has to make a change. He was 15 when he saw this kid choke to death. He couldn't listen to all the naysayers that told him it's never going to happen. There's a system, things how it works, there's a bureaucracy. But he was tone deaf. And therefore he was able to accomplish something so great. So I turn to all of you today, and that's the message Joshua is sending us in our lives. Sometimes you want to accomplish something, be tone deaf. You have to be cheresh. You have to be deaf and not listen to all those naysayers who are going to try to pull you down. Go out there, conquer the world, change the world, make a difference, and only listen to the positive things you have to. Have a great day.